All right, here we go. So we're playing just a random Scarecrow mixture of deck. Now, I did add some more cards in here before I even get into this. Let me talk about the two cards that I added into this deck. So, if you've seen the deck list before, I've changed a couple cards out. I've added Link Disciple and Lingaribo. Now, I haven't had this happen to me yet, but people are playing the Ibli lock. I've been watching a lot of people play, like a lot of games, and I've seen a lot of Ibli locks. These two cards right here will get rid of that Ibli lock when people play their Sprite engine. So, that's why I put those two in the deck. Pretty much stop the Ibli lock, and I can just play normal like I would do to play through the Sprite engine. But there is another deck that's in here that's really difficult for me to beat, which is the Mathmech deck. So my opponent uses his Imperm. Imperm basically stops my 4 mud skipper from, or not 4 mud skipper, but my light heart. He should have used it on 4 mud skipper, if I'm being honest. That basically would have stopped me from being able to go into light heart. But since he didn't do that, he used it on light heart, which I would agree that that's the wrong card to use it on, because now you allow me to get my 4 mud skipper effect. But it wouldn't have mattered anyways, because I still had an extender past this, but this would have been a choke point versus this being a choke point. 4 mud skipper can get parallel exceeds, which means that now I can now scythe lock you. So should have negated the other one, but it wouldn't have mattered anyways because I still had the extender. But that's my point. Now, if he had used the imperm right here, he could have actually stopped me and prevented me from actually getting out the scythe. Or if he had held it and used it right here, he could have stopped me from getting DPE out. So that would have completely shut down my plays if he had just simply had some restriction in using this imperm and using it on Predator Plant Verde Anaconda, which that's what I would use it on if I'm being honest. I would honestly hold the card if I see this card because I know it has two effects. If I see 4 mud skipper, I know it has two effects. Still going to get the effect off, so I would hold it against 4 mud skipper. Once I see Artifact Dagda come out, I know that the player is going to go into Anaconda, so I would just simply hold it for Anaconda and basically shut down the Scythe lock. That would stop me from getting DPE. These cards would basically become dead cards on the field that can't do anything. And on top of that, since I would have activated my Predator Plant Verde Anaconda, basically I wouldn't have been able to do anything past that. He would have killed me. He would have basically stuffed my turn, but that's not what he did. So I scythe lock him, and then he plays evenly match. Now here's the funny thing: evenly match doesn't matter that he evenly matched me. He got rid of two cards that were pretty much already. I've already gotten what I needed out of them. I've already gotten use out of them. Now it is good that he did get Dagda off the field, if I'm being honest, because if he had left Dagda on the field, which he could have just run over it with something, but if he had left Dagda on the field, even if Scythe had went to the graveyard, I could have used Dagda to reborn Scythe by popping Dagda on his turn all over again. So that would have been a 2-turn Scythe lock, so he needed to get rid of that card, which makes a lot of sense. Now, he should have held this card because that's a call by the grave. If he had held this call by the grave, once DPE got popped at the end of the phase, he could have used his call by the grave and call by the grave DPE. But since he said it, he wasn't able to. Then he could have actually used it again on my turn when DPE was about to come back to the field to actually DPE it then, but he didn't do so. So now I have the Adventure Engine plus DPE, and I'm setting up for the next turn. Go ahead and set this card, flip it, and then that's where I found out that it was called by the grave that he set. Banished a card that I did not need. Who cares? Whatever. GG's, my brother. So now, let's look at his deck and see what he was playing. Brandy Despia. So this deck super easy to beat. A lot of people were struggling, saying this was the best deck. I was beating this deck in my sleep with Floanderies. I was beating this deck with Prank Kids. I was beating this deck with Scareclaws. Beating this deck with everything. Anything you could think of. Before they released the cards that came out after this, after this pack, I was just playing Prank Kids, Thunder Dragons, everything. Whatever I wanted to play, I was playing and beating this deck. So this deck was never a problem for me, but I could see where it could be a problem from when I play it against other people. Maybe other people were just playing it against me wrong, but whatever. Now let's go into the deck that actually I lost to. Mathmechs. This is probably one of the most powerful decks that I've played against so far. I do not think I've beat a Mathmech player. If I have, I probably beat him and just didn't go look at the deck list. They probably just ended up scooping on me. But so far, every time I've come look at the deck list when I lose, it's usually a Mathmech player. So I don't know how to fully beat this deck just yet. I'll show you guys what went wrong in this particular matchup and where I ended up just quitting. I ended up quitting this match. It didn't even attack to win. I just quit because I knew I was going to lose. And it's funny because I probably should have stayed because I would have gotten gems from losing and not quitting. But the fact that I quit, I didn't get any gems. But I think that's like everybody. When you're frustrated at the end of a match, you just quit. Even though you don't get anything from quitting, you literally get gems from staying, but you quit because you're just like, fuck this. So I go ahead and bring out Baron the floor, go Artifact Dagda. Dagda's gonna set the scythe. I'm gonna use these two to go into Predaplant Verde Anaconda. Now I'm gonna bring out a DPE, plus I have a Baron the floor. And even if they had stopped me from bringing out my DPE, I could have popped this card with Baron and then brought it back onto the field with Baron the floor on his turn. So I ended up going for a Scythe Lock, and this is where shit hits the fan. He has a Forbidden Droplet. Now, this always seems to happen when I'm playing against a Scythe player. They always have Droplet in their hand for some reason every time, and they're ready for it. And then they always do this shit. Every single time. Sigma can double its attack. And not only can this card double its attack, but when it attacks, it does double damage. So, I was about to get hit with 6,000 attack points because he was going to use this card to double this card's attack. It would have boosted it to 6,000, and then once he attacked, it would have done double damage, would have done 12,000 damage minus whatever my cards were, which would have 100% killed me. So GG's.